of Jacob to say, what kind of a child are you? How can you do such at young age? So now we're taking it from there, that this man was told now by the father that, as you have received my blessing, and you receive my blessing based on these things. You are receiving my blessing because you have cooked the meal that I was looking for. And secondly, you are receiving my blessing because you smell like the firstborn, like Esau. And thirdly, because your skin feel like Esau, even though I'm not convinced of the voice. But with all these things that are convincing, you are getting these blessings. And this man goes, and as he gives himself to, into leaving his family because of his brother, that there was a dispute over the blessing. His brother was forgetting one thing, that he actually sold the birthright unto Jacob. He told him that, yes, give me food, I'm going to give you my birthright. It's not going to work for me anyway. And that's how he got it. And, we normally say he stole the blessing, but the truth is that, yes, with the father, he deceived the father, but with the brother, he had agreed with him to say, I'm taking this from you. So that means he deserved all that he had, he deserved it. And later on, as he was moving towards Syria, where his uncle was living, Laban, he's been given a word from home to say, yes, you have received all the blessings, but one thing that we need you to do for us is that you must never marry a Canaanite woman. And we have explained that we're not talking about a Canaanite woman as in the land in those days. In those days, yes, we knew that everybody that comes from Canaan, it was not really much with the world as such, or the land as such, but it had to do with being from Canaan, carrying curses. So that means he was given an instruction to say his house, and you are looking for a wife. Take a wife from his house. Don't take a wife from a cursed nation. Because the Bible understood, or God knew very well, he created human beings. He knew very well that, when you marry a person, you guys become one. He has said it in the book of Genesis chapter 2, that a man will leave his father and mother and he will cleave to his wife. You become one. So now, if you become one with a cursed person, you're carrying the curses that they are carrying. So that's the instruction he's given this young man, to say, don't marry a Canaanite woman. And he goes to his uncle, he sees this woman, and kissed her, he loves her, and goes to the uncle and say, my uncle, I would love to marry this woman, your child, your second daughter, Rachel. And the Bible says that when he said that, the uncle said, yes, I do agree, to give you my child, but I need you to work for me 7 years. And he worked for 7 years. He was deceived into getting the blessing. And as he was deceived into getting the blessing, after 7 years, he was given the older woman. We have spoken about this before, that, why it was done like that is because this was the firstborn, and he wanted to be a firstborn in his family, and he wanted a firstborn blessing. So as a result, even in terms of the wife, he had to get a firstborn wife. He did not like what he got, but he didn't know that when he wanted the birthright of being a firstborn, he didn't know what he was calling upon himself. So we are told that he was given Leah, he was unhappy, and then the father told him, work for 7 years again, because I don't want to be unfair to my daughters. Work for 7 years to get the second one. He worked for 7 years, he got the second one. And the Bible tells us that, as he got the second one, he was happy, but the second one did not give birth to kids. And they tried all they could try, and eventually, she got pregnant with Joseph and gave birth to Joseph, for whom his brothers, they really treated him bad, until to a point whereby he was thrown into a pit, and he was taken out and sold as a slave, and they took him to Egypt. He became second in charge. But now what happens with the father here is that, as he was living with the uncle, he now worked extra 6 years. Now he was waiting for payment. For 14 years he worked for his wives, but for 6 years he worked for his wages. And the Bible says that after 6 years, this guy Laban the uncle was robbing him of his payment. But because this man is blessed and he has promised God 10% in Genesis chapter 28, he said, God, when you take care of me, you give me food, you give me clothes, you protect me from enemies, I'm gonna give you 10% of what I'm gonna make. The 10% was not a payment at that time, it was a pledge, because this man had nothing. He was fleeing from his household. So now he pledges to God. When he gets into Laban's house, he worked for 6 years after having paid his right price for 14 years. Then the uncle robs him of the 10% that he promised to God. And now what God decides, he decides that, you Laban cannot rob this person of the 10%, because the very same 10% that belongs to him is what actually belongs to me, because he vowed that he's going to give it to me. So now when you are robbing Jacob of the 10%, you are actually robbing me as God, because I'm supposed to get the 10%. And now God appears in the dream. When he appears into the dream of Jacob, he says, Jacob, I'm about to change the DNA of this livestock, of this cattle. I'm about to put, a mark on them. The Bible tells us that some of them were grizzled, some were speckled. They had spots and they had stripes. To say, this kind of a cow that has spots and stripes, it belongs to Jacob, Jesus. And the Bible tells us that when he appeared into the dream, he said, Jacob, your uncle was trying to rob you, but I'm here as your God. I'm going to save you. You're going to lose nothing. That is why when we believe in God, we are the children of God. Even when the enemy can try to rob us, to look like they are robbing us, but they are not actually robbing us. From the very same thing that they own, God is going to take out what is ours. People ask themselves, why so-and-so was running a big company, and then now the company have crashed, it's liquidated. It's because they started robbing a child of God, and now God is making that company, or is taking it into liquidation, because he's paying the child that have worked there, who's a child of God, and seemingly was being robbed for 6 years or 10 years, but now it's time for payback. So this guy speaks to Laban. As he speaks to Laban, he says, Laban, I need you to set me free. It was even before it became a law in the book of Exodus or Leviticus that, on the 6th year, you must set free a slave. And the 6th year, when you are plowing, when you have anything, the harvest will be doubled, because on the 7th year, you're not going to be needed to work. You're going to receive a portion for the 6th year and a portion for the 7th year. So it has to be a double portion on the 6th year. And he says that, you've been robbing me for 6 years and I am leaving. And he was telling that to the wives to say, I'm going to leave because your father has been robbing me. And the Bible tells us that they also said, if our father was robbing you, it means he also robbed us of our share. And as a result, we're going to leave. And it says when they were sitting on that meeting, now they decide to go and pack the things and leave by night. It says now Rachel decides to steal a golden gourd from Laban, his uncle. And when she stole that, they left. But now the uncle, when he was looking, which is her father, when he was looking around the house, realized that one of my gourds are missing. Then he came after them, but before he could come after them, the Bible says that God appeared in the dream to Laban. He said, don't say anything good or bad to Jacob, because you have robbed him and he's my child. I'm protecting him. And that the Bible says that he rose up in the morning. He decided to come after them. He said, when he met them by Gilead, he said, Jacob, I was not going to come after you, but these women that are your wives, they are my children. Even the grandchildren, they are my children. Even the very same livestock you have, it's mine. But your God, your God appeared to me in a dream. You know, we are serving a God that appears even to our enemies. He appears even to the people that are robbing us. So never ever in your life think that when your boss, you are working somewhere, is robbing you and think that God don't know and have not communicated with them. Never think that, you know, when your teacher robs you of your marks, that God is only talking to you. He never talks to them. God is a God that communicates to both parties. He's a fair God. He wants to make sure that his message gets through, irrespective of the network, irrespective of the channel, irrespective of the transportation, but his message gets to be revealed, it gets to be taken to the very same recipient that's supposed to receive it. It never gets lost. So now God said that, and the man, when he met up with Jacob, he said, you know, God told